Hello, it's Arvid from Lazy Reviews. This is my review of the last three Halloween movies made at the point of this recording. The trilogy, I don't know, the Halloween Ends trilogy, I suppose you would call it. So Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, made over the last few years. The actual review is taken from the full franchise review I did of the Halloween franchise. So if you're interested in the other movies in the franchise, you should watch that video instead of this one, as I'm not really bringing any new information into this one that's not already being said in that one about these three movies. So, yes, if you're only interested in hearing about this new trilogy, stay tuned. Just watch this one. Don't bother about the bigger review video or anything. It does, of course, mean I will be making some references to some of the other movies, and I might not be fully explaining the references because I already talked about them in that video, in the full video. But it shouldn't really be a problem. All the major points I make actually do make sense without that extra added context. So you should be able to, find some, enjoy this video, get some information out of this video, whatever you seek, I guess. No, I can't provide you everything you seek. I don't know. I can provide you some of the things you would hope to find in a review, I hope. Anyway, I think I've been talking enough. On with the review, and have a nice day. The Halloween sequel, called Halloween 2018. And this is not a remake, in case you were wondering. This is a direct sequel to the first film. And it even plays a lot on all the stupid things that happened since then. There is, because Jamie Lee Curtis is back playing Laurie Strode. I shouldn't start like this, but they're playing for like this, where now Laurie Strode has a daughter, and the daughter has a daughter, and the daughter's a group of friends, a bit quirky people. They're talking about the murders. That they happened all this time ago, so people still not completely don't remember all the details. It has been 40 years, but then one brings up, hey, wasn't it something like that? He was the daughter of, the brother of this or that, and weren't they related? No, it's just someone made it up. So it does kind of. I just like how the meta commentary on the other movies are used in this film, just to completely try and create something new that's also based on the original. And overall, I think they are very successful at that. But let me start from the beginning, because I also like the opening of it. It's kind of a nice way to bring it into, well, a new, a new decade, I guess, a new era. So it opens up with these British podcasters who make this true crime podcast, and they get to interview Michael Myers in the psychiatric hospital. And the establishing shots are quite nice. They're having this big quadrant where the mentally insane or mentally ill are allowed to stand inside a square. You should not approach the square. So you see these different kind of insane people, and that kind of works well. So there are two podcast people. There's this kind of quiet woman who's a bit nice, and the other guy is, kind of a douchebag, and he tries to provoke Michael Myers to talk to him. So he has gotten the mask from the forensic lab, wherever it's stored, your evidence locker, I guess. So he was allowed to borrow it, and he shows it to Michael Myers, the original mask, and it still doesn't provoke an answer. And then it cuts to the opening, and it actually uses the original opening with a pumpkin, but in a different way. So the other ones had this pumpkin slowly dissolving into something more sinister. This one has a pumpkin inflating into a real pumpkin with a knife for a nose. And I kind of like, again, taking something original, taking a good idea, changing it a bit. That's kind of how you show homage, but also create something new. And yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie. And yes, I will talk about it. So we also then see... after this, they visit Laurie Strode, who is revealed to live in this very secluded house where she has this huge fence, and it's, stay off my property, whatever. She is not very happy about having them there. They pay her, I think it's $10,000 to have an interview with her. And they have the interview. They try to provoke a response from her. Like, she believes, that he is pure evil, that he is the boogeyman, that, there is nothing good in him. And they try to, they would really like her to meet him or to talk about him. And these things that media people do to get better content, they try to do that on her, and she's not having it, and ends the interview just pretty much wasting most of the money. Also, good opening because it turns out that Laurie Strode is still deeply traumatized by the events. So if you think about Laurie Strode's in H2O, that's nothing compared to this. Laurie Strode's life in this film is completely destroyed. She is an old lady living in this top security house. Her relationship with her daughter is completely ruined as she lost the custody when she was 12. The daughter was 12 because she was basically taking this daughter out of school to teach her how to shoot and how to survive and everything. So she has this panic room in her basement and this shooting range in her backyard is actually quite scary. That shooting range is used kind of as a jump scare in a later scene, which is a very nice setup. And she just has this huge weapon collection. It kind of reminded me a bit of sorry, what is his name? Andy, I think Andy from the Chucky series in the Curse of Chucky. No, sorry, Cult of Chucky, where Randy says, "Oh yeah." Andy says, "I have a few weapons at home," and then you see there's just a huge locker full of weapons, and she kind of does the same. It's a nice way of presenting her character and what has happened this time, and then you're presented with the daughter and her family, and she's has having a sweet family life of. There's the daughter, the teenage daughter, who's a bit rebellious, who likes the grandmother and wants to have a closer relationship with her. Then there's the father who's a bit clunky, sorry, not clunky, clumsy, but also sweet. You already, from the very beginning, you like these people, which again is actually not that common in horror movies, at least, especially of the movies that I've been talking about. You want these people to thrive. Turns out it's the daughter's birthday. It's Friday the 13th. Sorry, no, that's a different movie. It's the 30th of October, and it's the daughter's birthday, and she wanted the mom, who's called Karen, by the way, she wanted Karen to invite Laurie Strode's to the birthday party. She didn't, and she lies about it. And of course, the daughter finds out because she meets with Laurie Strode later on because, Laurie Strode wants to give her a present, and she's invited anyway. Okay, how can I try to make this shorter? And it's just this show, these family dynamics become quite important in the movie, and that's why I'm talking about them. And they are good. They are not bad drama or just plot filler. It actually works. In the meantime, the 30th also happens to be the day where Michael Myers is transferred from one psychiatric hospital to another, and he goes on a regular prisoner transfer bus as you see them in the movies. And he is accompanied by I would say the new Dr. Loomis. So he's a new psychiatrist who has a great interest in him. And then we cut to this family following. There's this father and son having fun. I think they've been out hunting, and they're having a good time. They come across this crashed bus, and with these mentally ill people walking around. And dad goes to investigate, doesn't come back. So the son goes to investigate, comes across the new Dr. Loomis and accidentally shoots him because he's so terrified. Goes back to the car and he's killed by Michael Myers. So Michael Myers kills children in this one. It's back to that good old Michael Myers that is horrifying. We don't need any understanding of why he's a monster. He just is. And yeah, so let me speed it up a bit. The next few scenes have the police arrive at this crash site. There is this new policeman or old policeman who turns out to have been involved in what's is essentially what would have happened in the sequel to the first Halloween movie. So the same night, the policemen are all out hunting Michael Myers, and they fail to get him. No, they do get him, but some people accidentally killed, and one of them is killed because he accidentally shoots him. So he feels guilty. He also has this trauma with Michael Myers. I think this might actually only be revealed in the second film, or it might be maybe it is revealed in this one. But anyway, everybody's traumatized by this event. There's this new police commissioner, this sheriff. Sorry, he's the sheriff. He's this African American no nonsense guy, but not no nonsense in the 80s way. He's just a cool character. He's not in it that much, but I do like him when he's on screen. And yeah, the daughter has a few friends. They're all a bit quirky. She has this the hot guy at the high school. Who's kind of a douchebag, but also not an unredeemable one. He does kiss another girl, and she sees it for this Halloween party, but it's not terrible. She kind of wants to forgive him, but all these things happen in between, and he regrets it. But he's also again actually being a very big douchebag towards her. So there's that. It's teenage drama as it should be, and there's this pathetic guy who is really just friend zoned by her, and he thinks he has a shot with her because the guy, the boyfriend, kissed another girl, and she doesn't won't have it, and he's drunk and he gets killed in a very effective scene. And he also stalks her other friends, and there's a callback to the ghost, the ghost costume from the first film. But this time it's just a corpse that's hidden behind it. There is the babysitter, so again another callback, and that babysitter is babysitting this new kid that is, normally I don't like kids in movies. It's probably well established now. That kid is cool. I really like that kid. So that's nice. It comes to the ending. Sorry, no, I should. That's actually an important thing. Turns out that the new Dr. Loomis is a maniac. So I think it's heavily implied that he was the reason the bus crashed, because he didn't die. He was shot but not fatally. So he's wounded, but he wants to pursue Michael Myers, and he thinks he can kind of use Michael Myers. He wants to put him out in the environment to see what happens, so he can use him as a test subject. So that's why he probably let the bus crash. And when the police officer drives into Michael Myers and is about to shoot him and kill him, the doctor just stabs him, and they're both, so he's pretty much just on the ground dying. And then we have the doctor driving away, and he kidnapped the daughter and has them reveal where Laurie Strode lives. So he shows up there, and he thinks, that, we can use this as as I said, like to test the insanity of this person and what happens with such a wild person in the wild. But Michael Myers being Michael Myers just straight up kills that guy. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to say, he also kills some reporters. He kills a lot of people. The kill count is quite high in this movie, and most of the kills are quite good, even the ones that happen off screen. Anyway, big showdown in the house. What we've all been waiting for, because we know that this house is full of weapons. It's the house of a woman who has prepared for this her whole life. So it turns out the whole house is just one big trap for this final encounter with Michael Myers. So there are trap doors. Sorry, not trap doors. Like every room can be locked off individually, and it's just really cool. And there's a good shootout, and they have some other callbacks too that I won't really spoil. I know I'm really spoiling a lot, but it ends up with Michael Myers trapped in the basement while they set it on fire, and they escape the house. But as they flee, her, the mom, and the daughter. Oh yeah, so it also is important that by the end of the film, the mom kind of understands why Laurie Strode did what she did, and she finds her childhood lessons back, like all the things she was taught about survival. So she does end up being good at fooling Michael Myers and shoots at him, something that took some time for her to get back to. Like the whole movie, she's kind of in denial, so much so that it ends up with the husband dying and everything. So a lot of hard lessons to learn in this movie. But when they're driving away, they see a fire truck heading towards the house, and that's how it ends. I kind of wouldn't have want to rush talking about this much, but this video is already really long because, quite honestly, this is the best Michael Myers Halloween movie, and the best Halloween movie after Halloween 3. It is thoroughly enjoyable. The kills are good. The story is good. There aren't really many things that are stupid about it. It has, lovable characters, good plot development. It has a lot of talking and a lot of slow moments, but the movie never feels slow because it keeps building up. So it does a lot of things from the first one did, only that it has a bigger budget and it has a more creative ideas. It has more gratuitous violence. Oh well, I think it is better than the first movie. But and it's also just a solid sequel to it. I like it. I really liked it, and that is why I had high hopes for Halloween Kills. So right off the bat, I would like to say that Halloween Kills from 2021 is a very different movie from the first one. Not fundamentally different, but the focus is very different. This one is more about mob mentality and about social trauma or shared trauma. So that's why when I said before that we get the sheriff's traumatic backstory in the previous film, that's not true. We actually get it in the opening of this one. And basically this movie is about all the people who are affected by the killings 40 years ago. And also about how a lot of people have forgotten or didn't even know that it had happened. A lot of this, the problem is with this, the story is a bit confused. It's not really well. I'm not even sure it's confused. It's not told that well. It's kind of a bit. It feels a tiny bit ham-fisted. This idea of trauma and these, Halloween dies tonight is the slogan from the film, and Honestly, I think it's a bit too much. It feels. So one of them, I think his name is Thomas Doyle. He was also in one of the other movies. The way his experience was tied into the events was that he was bullied out in the streets by some guys, and then Michael Myers shows up and he panics and passes out, and then when he wakes up, Michael Myers has just walked by. That's his trauma. His trauma is that he saw Michael Myers. It's not that he was, in close contact with anyone who died, that he had done anything else. But, his trauma, maybe it's not Thomas Doyle, maybe Thomas Doyle is still the Thomas Doyle from the first one, but one of them, that his trauma is just that he witnessed Michael Myers and he survived. And he has huge trauma for this. So every Halloween, he meets with the other survivors and they drink. And suddenly, because the news break that this bus had crashed, sorry, this transport had crashed, and that there are still two who are unaccounted for who have escaped. So they get this idea that they need to track them down. They mobilize all the people at the bar, at least most of them, to do something about it, because one of them is then seen stealing a car from the bar's parking area, and they confront him and he drives away. So they decide to make patrols to hunt Michael Myers, basically. That's the main part of the story. And it seems like the previous movie was, yes, it did have some commentary, but mostly it was just a good story that it wanted to tell. This one is tries to be deeper while also being a slasher, and while also not really having all the drama, family drama, whatever that kind of worked in the first movie, doesn't really work in this one. Overall, I didn't think this was a very effective movie, and I think what does work about it is actually most of the scenes that don't focus on this mob mentality thing, but the things that happen around it, or as a result of it, in to some extent. So yes, it opens with the boyfriend discovering the corpse of the friend zone guy, and then he discovers the police officer that was attacked by the new Dr. Loomis in the previous film. It turns out he isn't dead. So yeah, he tells him the backstory because of course it does when he's about there, bleeding out. He wants to tell the backstory. Not that he dies, he gets helped back to the hospital, and at the hospital he encounters sorry, not Loomis, Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode believes Michael Myers is dead, but the daughter now, sorry, not Karen, but the teenage daughter now starts to believe that actually maybe it's not over, because at the hospital corpses start rolling in. So there's some sign that something might still be going on. Meanwhile, we have all these locals who run around or drive around patrols with weapons trying to find Michael Myers, and those who do come across him, even though they outnumber him, they're completely destroyed. And those scenes are fairly effective, generally speaking. It does have two lovable characters, very quirky, kind of unrealistic, but because they're so quirky and unrealistic and continue to be that way, it starts to feel all welcome. It kind of goes on for too long. It's like a joke, an idea that just drags on for too long. It's a male homosexual couple, two guys called John, one being Big John and the other being Little John. One of them is taller than the other one, and that's the Little John, so I assume they might refer to something else. And it's a very nice couple. It's very fun and it's cute. You do have some really good scenes with them, but then it kind of becomes too much when Michael Myers is inside the house and they walk around trying to find him, and they split up. And I don't know, it's something that works that turns into something that no longer really works as well. It's not exactly that how they decide to escalate the situation between these two overshadows the good aspects of how they were introduced, but it kind of is a bit too much. It doesn't really feel like it belongs to this movie. And I would also say something that is nice, but also not all the time, is that the violence in this one is slightly toned down, while also having a bigger impact in a way. In the previous one, the violence it looked good, but it was also nasty. Like, it didn't glorify violence. And I think this one goes even more in that direction, that the violence that happens is almost traumatic. And you don't necessarily see much, but what you do see is scary. It's unnerving. The problem is that the last scene, I kind of both like it and don't like it. Interestingly shot. I do like that they went for something different. I can just say, well, the scene is that Michael Myers, he's caught by the mob, and they beat him and shoot him, and they think he's dead. But then he rises, it intercuts, film shoots back and forth between him and the family and other people talking about the character of Michael Myers, that, he's not just someone you can stop, he's a monster. That, so yeah, he's cornered by these people, and then he gets up and then he kills them all. And the way it's shot is a bit artistic, but also in a way where you actually don't see that much. And I don't know. The thing is, I don't dislike the scene. I just think having that scene and then having another scene like that, it is a murder spree, but it's just a murder spree done minimalistically. That those two things are just. It's not an oxymoron. It's not two concepts that can't coexist. But that's kind of how it is in my mind. that when you see a murder spree, you kind of want to see the murder spree. You don't want them to shy away from it. But then again, I admire that they do that. I should also say that we actually do get an effective murder spree early on, because the previous films ended with Michael Myers being trapped in a burning house, but then the firemen show up and they actually end up kind of rescuing him unwittingly just in time for him to escape and not die, and he kills them all. And I would say the reason why I say it's effective is, again, it actually doesn't show that much because it's so dark. And it's a bit chaotic, but it is also quite cool. I did like that scene. So it's not that we don't get any murder sprees in this one. We actually get quite a few. Also, I should have structured this better. Talking about the shared trauma. The intro is no longer just one pumpkin. It's multiple pumpkins on fire. So, this is the shared experience. That this is having one family's tragedy turning into a larger tragedy. And that's what they focus on. And then why I also say that it kind of has this message about mob mentality is that it turns out that the guy they've all been hunting down, like they have maybe 100 or more people running after him into the hospital where he ends up, is that it's one of the other escaped patients of the insane asylum. So he ends up, he's innocent. Laurie Strode realizes he's innocent, so he tries to gather the family around saving him, but they don't. It's not that the mob gets to him and kills him, it's that he commits suicide. Which leads to this somber moment where the mob kind of realize that they were in the wrong. But then, they actually go to find Michael Myers. So they don't realize that they're that much in the wrong, that maybe they should let the authorities do it. They have this scene where they say, we don't longer believe in the authorities. We don't think they can handle it because they haven't handled it before. They haven't prevented this disaster. That's true, but maybe you shouldn't give in to mob mentality. That's the whole dilemma, if you would call it that, of this film. And it ends up, I think it is in the Laurie Strode's house. Maybe even the old Michael Myers house. I forgot if that's... No, sorry, the homosexual couple live in Michael Myers' house. And they're aware of that. It's also used quite neat in a scene. And then at the end of this movie, right after that murder spree, we see Karen, Laurie Strode's daughter, die. And that's it, that's how it ends. Overall, I didn't dislike the film, but I liked Halloween from 2018 so much that this was disappointing. Again, I don't dislike that they go in a different direction, I just don't think it was that successful. I will not go as far as to try and dissuade anyone from seeing this, so if you liked Halloween, I think you could go ahead and watch this one as well. But I will say that you might not enjoy it. And I personally have no reason to go back and rewatch it. I don't think... I really didn't have a high level of enjoyment. I didn't get a lot of enjoyment from this. And honestly, the way this leads up to Halloween Ends, or rather the way it doesn't lead up to Halloween Ends, disappointed me. Actually kind of had me dumbfounded. So Halloween Ends came out in 2022. And if I didn't know any better, I wouldn't have thought it would be the same people behind it as who did the last two movies. Also, maybe I wouldn't even think that it was a Halloween film, because this is a very big departure, and I just have to talk about it for you to understand it. So already from the beginning, the movie doesn't tell how Michael Myers escaped the situation in the first film. All understand is he went into hiding, so the entire town is on high alert. Police force is out to get him. He just killed a bunch of people, but lo and behold, he goes into hiding for 3 years, because this movie takes place 3 years after the first one. Well, after the last two ones that took place over one night. And also, it opens up with a new character, Corey, who is actually our new protagonist in a way. So it opens up with him. He's the new babysitter. It's 2019, so a year after the killings. And he's the babysitter for this rich family who has this terrible kid who locks him in, and as an accident trying to break free while babysitting him, he ends up killing him. He falls down several floors and dies. So it wasn't by purpose. It wasn't on purpose that he ended up killing him. He is blamed by the mother for for murdering him. The father of the child doesn't really blame him. He thinks it was an accident. And fast forward 3 years, he is now a recluse. He is hiding from everyone. He is a recluse. Basically, he seems really depressed and introverted. We established when we saw him first that he was a smiling young guy, kind of looked like most young people, some who has a bright future to look forward to. And now he is nothing of his former self. He works at his father's repair shop. He's a mechanic, I guess. So, he is just living this life that he of constant regret, it would seem, and a constant shame. He then comes across Laurie Strode, and the thing is, I don't know if they have a relationship. I don't think they do. So they've been living in the same town for 3 years. This is a small town, as established by how in the previous film everybody in the town has this shared trauma. So it's a small enough town for everything to be connected. But they have never really interacted before. But she saves him from some bullies. And already here, I realized why I had a big problem with this movie. It doesn't feel real. Nothing about the world building feels real. We actually have this terrible casting again, where everybody is a stereotype. No person or no group dynamic. Nothing feels believable in this movie. And whereas the previous two movies had good acting, this one, maybe it has good acting, but the terrible casting and terrible direction distorts it. So he's approached by these 4 bullies, high school bullies, and they just look like they're from 4 different movies. One of them, this African-American girl, is dressed up in this school band uniform. Then there's a guy who looks like he's from the Antwoord. Then there's the jock, and then there's this boring girl who's also part of the group. Like, they're 4 completely different people. At what high school do 4 people like this hang out? I mean, yes, given it has been quite a few years since I went to high school, and I have never been to an American high school, so I don't know if people who dress up these different ways and who act these different ways can be friends. Maybe they can. Maybe it's hyper realistic, and I don't know. But it feels completely unbelievable. It feels like, yes, you take a jock, a nerd, a goth, and a cheerleader, and they all have to be best friends, and you have to believe that it's established relationship. It just doesn't work. And it's not the first time this movie does this. It also has this radio DJ who's straight up from the 70s. And he talks and acts in the most unnatural way. He's a movie character, but not just a movie character. He is straight out from 70s, 80s B movie. And he's in this universe. What more? Back to the story. So, having been beaten up a bit by these bullies, he meets Laurie Strode's daughter. I guess the main themes of this movie is moving along, putting traumas behind you, finding new meaning in life. I think those are the main lessons from this movie. Only if they make no sense. Because the only people this is relevant to is Laurie Strode's and the granddaughter. Because Laurie Strode is actually kind of a normal grandmother in this movie. She has put her trauma behind her. She's trying to write a book to get it all out of her system. There's hints of romance with the police officer from the other movies, the one who is wounded. And I don't know why the daughter gets interested in Corey. Maybe it's because they both have trauma that they're dealing with. So she's attracted to someone who's damaged so she can feel more normal. Because a lot of people are blaming the Strode's family for being responsible for the murders, that they were the ones attracting Michael Myers, they were taunting Michael Myers and causing him to commit these murders, and maybe they will move forward, but some people are still traumatized. The problem is, the movie has 2 plots. There's the sequel plot that's minimal. It has very little to do with this movie. And then there's the new Corey plot. The Corey plot is terrible. I have no idea how they could write something so bad, because it goes for... So he's shown as being accidentally killing someone and feeling terrible about it. That's how his character is established. He also has a controlling mom and a caring father, but who is not really capable of really helping him that much. That's how he's presented to the audience. Then the bullies attack him after he has an argument with the daughter, having the argument that you will never be able to understand me, and you will never be able to. He feels like he is her project for trying to fix him and turn him normal, and cure his trauma, and that it will never be possible, and that the traumas aren't comparable. So they have this interesting dynamic that actually could work on paper, just doesn't really do it in the film. And then he is pushed over a bridge by accident by the bullies, ends up in the sewer system, I guess, or at least somewhere underneath. No, sorry, it's not the sewer; it's just underneath the bridge. Is approached by Michael Myers, is allowed to escape, and immediately upon escaping, and now it's stayed, by the way. Immediately upon escaping, a homeless guy approaches him, saying, "Oh, Michael Myers let you live," and he's just insane. And then the homeless man just wants to murder him. So in self-defense, he kills the homeless man. And from here on out, he is turned into a serial killer who enjoys killing. This is some of the worst character writing I've ever seen. This is. So are we supposed to believe that the fact that Michael Myers didn't kill him turned him into a serial killer? Are we supposed to believe that it was because he was bullied that now he wants to kill people? Or are we supposed to believe that now that he killed one person, he wants to kill more, like he has a bloodthirst? But if that's the case, why didn't he develop a bloodthirst after the first kid? So yeah, in my opinion, and feel free to correct me, I actually really want to know if this was well established, because to me this seems like lazy, bad writing. Like, this is bad. This is Rob Zombie level bad, or maybe even worse. And I was so disappointed and sad that the people who made the Halloween from 2018 could make this crap. It's not that the movie is all bad, it's just a terrible sequel. And also it's a terrible sequel because it partly isn't a sequel. We even have scenes where he teams up with Michael Myers and goes on a murder spree with him, like they're buddying up to each other, which... Why? What the fuck is this? Why does Michael Myers want to hang out with this kid? And he ends up killing the kid anyway. This is so confusing. And Michael Myers, where has he been for 3 years? What is his motivation anymore? Why is he still in Haddonfield? How has he's been living under that bridge for 3? It's insane how the writers just ignored all logic and all possible questions the audience might have, and just tried to make a movie where you are. It's a movie for dumb people, I guess. It's a movie for stupid people who don't ask questions. But then it's trying to be intelligent, so that's also not true. But yeah, anyway, so Laurie Strode realizes that he's a bad guy, and she tries to protect her daughter against him because she's trying to run away with him. He ends up with this confrontation where first he teams up with Michael Myers and kills those teenagers that bullied him. And those kills are actually quite effective. That's one thing I will say about this movie. Many of the kills are really good. And it has Laurie Strode fooling him, and although she gains the upper hand, he fakes the situation to make it look like she killed him. Right as the daughter walks in, and the daughter then runs away, but then Michael Myers shows up and, haunts them, so they have to survive Michael Myers again and, finally kill him. Which they do. They do finally kill him. And then they can move on, I guess. That's the story. That's the story of this film. And is the final confrontation between these two effective? I would say it is. And I also the ending, I'm not sure how much I like it. So everyone in the town shows up when they hear that Michael Myers has died. And to make sure that nobody commemorates him or glorifies him, or like the horror podcasters went back to open this wound, they just put him. They parade him through the town on a police car and then put him into a big, what do you call something that crushes big things like cars or whatever, or it's not a wood chipper. It's much larger than that, and they just disintegrate the body and they move on. And I don't know where that leaves me. I had heard the movie had received very bad reviews. And that's actually because after watching the first Halloween Kills, I watched within a week. And then, and that was right before this movie came out. I wanted to know if I should watch Halloween Kills in the cinema. And then I heard that a lot of people weren't satisfied with it. And then I think it was Red Letter Media who said that actually they liked it, that they liked the directions it went in. Normally, I do kind of I don't also necessarily agree, but I do normally like to hear their opinions. But then them liking it, I made me just shut off that video. I didn't want anything spoiled. So when I watched it myself, I will say I had nothing of the plot spoiled before going in, and I don't know. I don't know. It's just Halloween Ends is a confusing film. Well, no. I feel confused about it. I feel conflicted about it, and I don't know. The new sequel trilogy has one good film and one maybe mediocre film, and that's Halloween Kills. And I honestly thought that the last film, Halloween Ends, is so poorly written in so many ways, and it's just two stories colliding in a way that is not done elegantly. I think you can do something like that elegantly. I can't think of something off my mind right now, but I think it's definitely possible to do something like that well, and to end the Laurie Strode storyline, which was necessary. I just don't think that this movie does it well. I think it actually does it. Even the way they end their storyline might actually be quite nice. I think the Laurie Strode's part of this movie is good. It's just Corey, the Corey character, and everything he goes through, and how Michael Myers interacts with him. All of that is so over the top bad that everything else in this movie is just covered in the same filth created by that script, that part of the script. So this was my review of the Halloween trilogy, the Halloween Kills, the Halloween Ends trilogy, whatever you want to call it. And I just hope you found it a bit entertaining, informative, whatever. I think just final thoughts. I think that the Halloween, the first one of the trilogy, is a very good film. I could definitely recommend it. Halloween Ends has its moments, but I don't really think it holds up that much as a movie. No, I'm not sure. It doesn't really hold. Well, I already talked so much about it, so I shouldn't add too much here. I just don't think it works that well. It's not really what I would like from a sequel. It feels like a movie that doesn't really. I don't know. I already said so much. I shouldn't have. Just I don't hate it. I think calling it the good, the bad, and the ugly is a stretch, because I don't think the sequel is bad. I don't think Halloween Kills is bad. I just don't think it's not good. And there is a big difference between the two in my world. Because Halloween Ends is a terrible film, in my opinion. Not the worst of the worst, but it's really not a good movie. So, yeah, I would definitely not recommend that. And I think I should end it here. So, if you are intrigued about the Halloween franchise in general, you can find a link to my full franchise review in the description. Go ahead with that if you want. Take care.